All right. So, hi, everybody. How are
Hi there. Happy
you?
Friday.
Yay. Yes. It's been a super long week, so I'm very glad of it. Okay. So I'm Kathleen. I am from Newline. I was a teacher for 27 years. I had a Newline panel in my classroom. I just want to make sure that we get the most out of our session. I know we only just have a little bit of time. So I do just want to make sure we cover, everything that's on our agenda. Stop me at any time if you have any questions. Instead of putting it in the chat, I'm staring at a camera this way, but the Google Meet is over on a camera off over here. So if you put something in a chat, I will probably miss it. Have no fear, just interrupt me. Don't raise a hand, just start shouting out. We're good to go, okay? All right.
Sounds good.
With your panel, there is an antimicrobial coating that is over the entire thing that absorbs all of the lotions and oils in your hands and turns it into a powder. So the best thing to do for your panel to clean it is just use a dry cloth to clean it, getting all of those fingerprints off all at one time. Now, I have a pack of 50 of these microfiber cloths that I got from Amazon, but if you are not going to spend one more dime on your classroom, and I don't blame you, you can just go to your laundry room and raid your dryer for those socks that are single and ready to mingle, and those work just as well. The cleaning kit that came with your panel is really only used for sticky messes, not for those fingerprints. It's for the sticky stuff. If you just continually dry wipe your panel once a day at the end of the day when you turn it off, you really wouldn't need this unless a soda explodes or something like that. If you do need to use this, it's going to be really important that you power the panel off first, dry wipe first, and then spray the cleaner on the cloth and then use the cloth to get off the sticky mess. We don't want to spray this directly on any electronic surfaces, just like you wouldn't want to, go through a car wash with your windows down. Just make sure everything's powered off first. This is just an alcohol-based cleaner. So if you don't want to have, a container of liquid cleaner around your classroom, you can use things like screen wipes. These will work just as well. But again, really the best bet is always just dry wiping your panel. All right. Any questions about that? Awesome sauce. All right. So next up on our agenda is annotating. So a couple of the things that are in settings that we want to fix in settings. I'm just going to bring up a browser tab, for example, so I can have in front of me something that I'm going to annotate on. Our annotation tool is this third button down right here. It looks like a piece of paper and a pencil. And when you tap on that piece of paper and pencil, you will notice that a little red X shows up on your menu. Down at the bottom is where our tools are located. I am going to recommend that we change some settings in annotation to make it more useful for you. Down over here in this bottom corner, you will see a little gear. Okay, so we're going to tap on the little gear, and I recommend that we change it to write with fine pen or fingers, turn off our action hints, and turn off our auto screenshot. If we fail to do that, what ends up happening is when we go in and out of things, it takes screenshots that go clear across things over and over and over, and every time you come in and out of it. And when you write, these little blue boxes will pop up. Those are called your action hints. There's really only like 3 or 4 action hints, and as a teacher, it kind of was distracting for my students. So wanting to shut that off is something that was important to me. So again, where that little settings gear is where you are going to write with fine pen or fingers, turn off your action hints, and turn off your auto screenshots. Now that you've done that, your annotation tools, your panel is Amelia Bedelia. She will do exactly what she is told to do. A thin point, oh, and you can see I'm writing with a mechanical pencil with no lead in it. Those are my favorite styluses. So a thin point is automatically a pen. A thick point like your finger is automatically a highlighter, and a flat palm swiping on through is your eraser. There you go. So you can write and highlight over anything, but once I've deployed those annotation tools, I can no longer scroll on any website. It's frozen in place. So when I'm going over things, I want to make sure before I hit that annotation tool that it is exactly where I want it. If I'm on a website or if I'm on a worksheet, I want to make sure it is exactly where I want it before I start writing over the top of it. So if, for example, you decide, I really, I think my kids understand these user resources, and you look out at your kids and they have blank looks on their faces, and you're like, wow, I really need to screenshot this. You can do that, okay? Down over here at the bottom, you can see there is a little camera icon. If you tap on that camera icon, you can still take screenshots if you want to. So where that little screenshot is, now you've got options. You can crop your screenshot just like we do when we are on our phones. We can shrink that down, and just like on your phone, the menu will then move to a different location. There is a download arrow where you can download it either to your panel or to your drive. And then in the center, there is a whiteboard icon. So I can tap on that and bring that same exact photo into my whiteboard and continue teaching on that same exact example in my screenshots. Okay. Now we want to know, where on earth do all of those screenshots go? Because maybe you've been using your panel for a couple of weeks and you're like, yeah, it does take a lot of screenshots. Where do those puppies go? On your homepage, as part of your little 6-pack of fun things right here, there is this guy right here that says File Viewer. File Viewer is where we're going to go to find that information. And all of those screenshots are actually loaded right here in Pictures. So you can see I've taken 25 screenshots. Don't worry about them taking up all of the room in your panel. They actually automatically delete themselves after 30 days. So if you're worried about all the screenshots that it takes eating up all the memory in your panel, don't be. 30 days and they will automatically delete. If you want to save it, you're going to have to move it somewhere else, okay? To move it, we're just going to tap on those 3 little dots, select move, and then all of your options will pop up. You can save it to internal storage. If you've got your drive connected or your OneDrive connected, you can also save it there. Okay, any questions about that?
No, that all makes sense. I think from here, that's awesome.
Is
So
emailing it an option?
I'm sorry?
Is emailing it an option that we can use?
Yes, emailing is an option you can use. I'm glad you brought that up. So if we're going to head back there, and I'm just going to pull up a picture here. Once you have decided to move it, if you have an email connection to your panel, so we have something that's called Aquamail. If you've connected your Aquamail, that will also pop up as an option. But you can connect your Google Drives, and you can see I have multiple Google Drives connected and a Microsoft OneDrive connected. That's usually the better way to do that. So then you even have like proof on the back end. You can rename it, all of those other things once it hits your drive.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. All right, so heading back to our handy dandy agenda here. So we've done this one, we've done this one. So screen sharing. All right, friends. So a couple of different ways that I know you wanted to screen share. One was from iPads and one was from laptops. Both of those things are going to be right here with this screen sharing icon. Tapping on that. Now, I taught middle school and I use screen sharing with my students. And if I'm going to use screen sharing with my students, there's going to be some changes that I would make in the settings menu to make it safe for use with my middle schoolers, because they're a little ornerier than your primary elementary kids, right? So down here where settings are located, under network and connections, you can decide to turn your AirPlay receiver on or off. I know AirPlay was something that was very important to y'all, so having your AirPlay receiver on might be a great idea for you all. And then I would turn Google Cast Receiver off if you're not going to use Google Cast Receiver. Just simply fewer options for students to kind of hack their way in, because kids, man, they're so smart with technology. And then under this session management, I would have moderator mode on. Those would be my best bets. Now, once I do that, this little guy here might change. If I am using it with my students are just going to go to displaynote.com/join, and they're going to enter in a code. I can connect both my laptop and my phone and my iPad, anything I want. I'm still going to want to select this thing called Grid View, and I will show you why we're selecting Grid View. So on my phone, I'm just going to use my phone as an example. You can see that the session ID still pops up down here at the bottom. I'm going to type that in, 581919. I cannot talk and type at the same time. It's just an impossibility for me. Once I do that, you're going to see that I pop up right here. And this is why we want to be in grid mode. You're going to tap invite back on your device, say yes, and start your broadcast. So you're going to see it might take just a second to connect because it is web-based, okay? Now, only in grid view will you get the tools like the X to kick a student out or to main screen them for the entire thing, so that now you can tap those arrows and make it bigger. If you are on a phone or an iPad or anything that receives text messages, pro tip, make sure you swipe down and put it into focus mode so your text messages don't pop up while you are instructing with your students, because they won't read instructions, but they will read your text messages, right? So all you have to do now is rotate your device, and then you can have it be full screen. So if, for example, I were bringing up my camera, I can rotate it. I now have a portable document camera on the fly. We can talk about different science experiments going on in the corner. How long will the golden doodle sleep while mommy's talking? Things like that. If you are a science teacher, you can bring it over the top of the science experiment that's working because people followed instructions. Art teacher can show off student artwork, things like that. Something to be aware of, though, when you are in the app. If you pull up photos, all of your recent photos will come up at the bottom. So you will want to make sure that anything that you don't want students to see will be hidden away in a hidden folder. And also, when you are using the app versus using AirPlay, sound does not transfer. Okay, so if we're watching a video, the sound will stay on my original device. It will not transfer up to the screen. But in AirPlay, it will. Okay, so that app, if you want to just use it as that quick and simple ways of connecting for the camera purpose, that is this Display Note app right here. It's free if you download it in any of your app stores, things like that. Now, to Apple AirPlay, I'm going to need to create a new session because I turned Apple AirPlay off for this session. So I'm going to kick this student out right there, exit my grid view down here, and we are going to start a new session. So with this new session, I'm going to hit settings again, head to my network connections, and I'm going to turn my AirPlay receiver on. So with my AirPlay receiver on, my code number is going to change. Then I am going to, on my device, look for ways to AirPlay things from my phone. So going back to that same exact video we were on earlier. Friends, press pause. I'm just going to share. And then I am going to AirPlay. And then it's going to ask me, I'm going to connect to a Q series. So I'm going to connect to my Q series. Once I'm connected to my Q series, connected, invite to present. Now, the sound transfers if you're using AirPlay. Okay, so that would be my suggestion for how to do that. If you want to connect multiple devices, like if you're in a multi-purpose room, for example, and you want to connect multiple devices to the same exact computer, sometimes schools want to do that as well. You would have one computer on the app, which there is a desktop app to download as well, one computer on the website, both of them using the same exact, both of them using a code and a different code on each panel, and then you'd be able to go from the same exact computer to two different panels airplaying at the same time. Now, from this website, you can airplay in, you can come in through the website and use a librarian from another school showing off different collections and things like that. You don't even have to be in the same room. You don't even have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi, which is why it's always important, in my estimation, to be in moderator mode to make sure you're inviting people to come in and present. If multiple teachers in your building are all going to be using Apple AirPlay, under settings, going to be really important under general that we change the name from Q series to something else, because you might end up airplaying on your neighbor teacher's computer if we don't change that room name. So Q series, type in whatever you want to call it so that yours is differentiated from your neighbor teacher. Okay. At the end of those sessions, really, really, really important that we hard close out of it. This second to last button right down here, tap on that. And then this is how we hard close out of things. We can go back through, draw it down, and tap our little X to close out of things. Or if we wanted to close everything at one time, we could just tap that trash can and close everything at one time. Does anybody have any questions about that so far? So I will actually send in a follow-up email, step-by-step instructions on how to connect and what to do if it's not connecting and all of that good stuff too, in a PDF.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Excellent. Okay. So now we're headed back to whiteboarding. Now I have to say, whiteboarding has my heart. I absolutely love it. There are so many things that we can do with this and so many different ways that we can use it to engage with students. So one of the things I recommend you do under your apps, this is already installed on your panel, is favorite our Newline classroom tools. To do that, there's this little plus button over here that says add. You tap on that, navigate over to apps, find the little yellow box with the yellow pencil and put a check mark next to Newline classroom tools. So when you are doing that and you bring them up, you can use this over the top of anything, over your screen sharing, your document camera, your whiteboard. You can use these over everything, and they are a fantastic tool to use in your classroom, and I'm going to show you how. So one of the things to note about this is you can see, I'm going to clear everything on this panel here. You can see right down here at the bottom, there are two arrows that point at one another. When I tap those two arrows that point at one another, it turns it into a widget so it can just go hang out in the corner and be waiting there for me whenever I want to use it. Okay, so I'm going to tap back over here and I'm going to head to my whiteboard again. So my original whiteboard, this is where we were to begin with. I'm going to show you how to change your background down over here in the corner where this little, oops, I got to be in a writing tool, where my little plus button is right down here. We're going to take one finger and we're going to press and hold on that plus button. When we press and hold on the plus button, we can bring in a different color background, or we can bring in a different pattern background, or you can even bring in a pattern that's a different color all at the same time. So if I wanted to bring in a black background graph paper and tap add, I now have white grids instead of black grids, making that super easy to see. And you can change that as many times as you want. So one finger plus over here, color, I'm just going to go back to original. Pattern, I'm going to scroll down just above the periodic table and click on the handwriting paper. This little tool right here looks like a circle and little triangles. You tap on that and use 2 fingers and zoom out. That's what's going to allow you to make that background bigger, so it's easier for your students to see in the back of the room, up to 300% zoom in. And then when you write on it, please forgive my bubbly handwriting here, it is an infinite canvas. You could just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and keep using it throughout your day. Okay, so you've got your notebook paper, you've got graph paper, you've got PE fields, there's all sorts of other things, and you can even bring in your own custom one as well, if that's what floats your happy boat. So this custom, it does have to be a very large photo, so just be aware of that if you do bring in your own custom background. All right, so I'm just gonna bring in some plain graph paper and tap add, and just like with our notebook paper, I'm gonna zoom in and make that graph paper bigger, so it's easier to see. Okay, questions on how to change that? Awesome. Okay, so your writing tools at the bottom. Remember how I said she's Amelia Bedelia? If you want to change your pen color, you have to tap the pen with your pen. So my pen, change that color to whatever color I want. I can change the thickness of my pen. If I want one of those semi-custom colors over here, tap on that, tap it again to bring up your semi-custom color wheel. I like navy blue, for example, so I'm going to bring in my pen to be navy blue. If I were to say in the middle, oh no, I don't want navy blue, I really want purple. My finger is purple, my pen is still navy blue. Okay, so like I said, she's Amelia Bedelia, she does exactly what she's told. So if in the middle of the day you're wondering, why does my pen change color? That is because you started off nice and strong with your wrist nice and straight, and by the end of the day you got tired and you started dragging and breaking more of that infrared surface that goes all the way around. So it now reads your pen as a thicker surface because you're breaking more of the surface with that pen. Okay. All right, I see a chat question. What have we got over here? I like that. Yes. Thank you, Whitney. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm just going to tap and clear this good stuff here. All right, so over here, this little menu, 3 dots, is my favorite. There are so many things we can do with this little 3-dot menu over here. You tap on that. We're going to start over here where it says Canvas. This is not a Canvas LMS system. This is easy Canvas. Tap on split mode, and you can split your panel into 2 for working with smaller bodies and not linebackers up here at the top. Tap on this, and you can even split your panel into 3. We can bring in our Newline classroom tools. We can bring up some dice. We can bring in up to 6 of them. And now you have math station rotation for your students so that you can work with other small groups. So they can do this multiplication, divisions, whatever. With kids writing on things, they love writing on the board. They're going to love writing on this too. So these kids, each of them can choose their own colors, and they cannot write on one another's panels. They can keep going at the same time, and they still cannot write on one another's panels. So that's a great way to save arguments. Also, this little one over here. Let's say she is not.
Do that one again.
The split, you bet, no problem. All right, so let me just finish this one up really quickly. So this little one is drawing flowers instead of doing their math problems. Up here at the top, we're gonna say, sweetie, I love your picture so much. I'm gonna take a screenshot of it so I can save it. Bring it on over here, press your download button, select your drive, and then you can save it to her RTI folder before you even leave this panel, okay? So to get in and out of that again, so I'm just gonna tap on those 3 dots and press exit. We're gonna tap on these 3 little dots down here, like a meatball sub laying on its side. 3 little dots, Canvas, split mode, split into 2. To split it into 3, we're going to tap up here and say 3 split. Now you can split it into 3. And you can bring in your classroom tools. You can even layer extra over the top of it. So up here at the top, there are these 3 little lines. You can tap on that and even bring in a timer. So you have 3 kids working up here on math, the timer goes off, 3 new kids come in. So you can constantly be in that rotation of different kids doing different things. Okay? Questions about that? You're welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that back into a widget, have it hanging out over here in the corner, tap on those 3 dots again and press exit, and I'm gonna head right back to my graph paper where we were. All right, down over here at the bottom where our 3 little dots are. Tools. If you've got a document camera attached, you can bring in your document camera when I tap on Visualizer. That is the document camera app. So I have my document camera right here. If I tap on my lasso tool right here, that is my selector tool. So I'm going to tap on my lasso, tap on my document camera, use my little blue dot and rotate it around and move it on over to the corner. And then we can go over that math worksheet while we are talking right here on that same whiteboard. And because it's hanging out in the corner, we can just continue on with all of those same examples and just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and my document camera stays there. Okay. Now in Newline land, there is sometimes if there's not an X, you go out the door. Okay. It's the opposite of the dating world. So for this, to get rid of this, there is no X, but there is a door. So in the dating world, if you see an X, then you find the door. In Newline land, it's the opposite. If you don't see an X, you find the door to get rid of things, okay? So we're gonna tap exit right there. Going back to my little 3-dot menu down here. Under tools, we have different rulers. So if you really like drawing straight lines, but like me, have no actual physical capacity to do so, if you just kind of click and drag in the general vicinity of those highlighted lines, it makes straight lines for you without you having to do a whole lot of effort. Of course, you can rotate them, whatever you want to do with those intersecting, bisecting lines, all of that good stuff, okay? So I'm going to scroll. We also have things like protractors. So even some of these tools have multiple settings. Just playing around with them is how you learn how to use things. So if I'm going to play around with this one, again, I kind of just go around the circle and it makes perfect circles for me. Underneath that plus button, if I tap on it one time, it makes angles and it even tells me what angles we've drawn. The 3rd time, we can make those perfect obtuse angles. Or Pac-Man, you know, whatever. Okay, one more time. Underneath that plus button, we can now make pie charts and we can work on fractions with our students. And you can bring in multiple colors, layering different colors over the top of one another. And then at the end of that math lesson, because we zoomed in very far, now we can zoom out very far and we have an easy representation of everything we just taught during that math lesson. During review time, makes it very easy to review with everyone. All right. Questions about those? But wait, there's more. Are you ready? Okay, we're gonna head back to our handy dandy 3-dot menu over here. Tap on that one. Under add, you can see there's a huge amount of things that we can add under the add menu. I am gonna focus on bringing in a PDF document. So when I bring in my PDF document here, it's connected to my drive. So I can choose my drive. I can go to my drive and pick things out from my folders. So I'm going to bring in a worksheet about checks and balances in the government because I taught 7th grade history, so I'm super comfortable with this. I'm going to zoom in on my worksheet. Now, unlike my annotation tool over the top of my document camera, I can now write and highlight right on this. And it sticks and resizes when I zoom in and out. making it very easy to show my students exactly where I want them to take those notes, exactly what I want them to highlight. You can continue to do things like this in the margin and have all of that be part of your presentation as well. This does not alter my original in my drive. This creates a copy and adds it in. Okay, now, as a middle school teacher, every single student I had with a 504 or an IEP all had receives copies of teacher notes in their modifications. This is a very simple way to reach those modifications. Instead of having to make physical photocopies of everything, you can take a look at this little QR code scanner right here. Tap on that. Choose if you're going to export it as a photo or a PDF. I would recommend PDF. Choose which pages we're going to give them. So we want to give them the notes pages. So we're going to just choose 2 of them. And then click export. Now, if you're dealing with high school students, they can scan and get copies of the notes that way. Middle school and under, you're going to want that documentation. So just tap share, tap your drive, email it out. That way you have it in your drive. You can put it on your Google Classroom pages or on your Canvas pages. You can email it to absent students, email it to caseworkers, email it to students. So then that way everybody's IEPs and 504s are being met and you have documented proof that you've done it. All right, we're going to keep going. Are you ready? I'm just going to bring in another blank page, but I'm going to change the color to black. So it's easy to see. Oh, I brought in graph paper. Let me change that. Pattern, none, add. There we go. All right. Down at the bottom here, I'm going to change my ink color. Down at the bottom, we're going to look at this lasso tool and we're going to look at the shapes tool. So if I've got my shapes tools right here, I can select circles and make them white. And now we have the perfect Venn diagrams up here and we have them on the fly, super, super easy to get. Okay. Then we're going to take a look over here. This lasso tool is going to allow you to kind of glide through and select and move because it was too far up. It's too tall for my kids. I can move that down. I can resize, reshape if it got a little too big, things like that. If I wanted to get a little extra picky, I could copy and make extra copies of that image, whatever I want to do there. All right. From there, going back over here, I can tap on this and I can bring in text. I can even type and bring in that text in different colors. So if I wanted to bring in some pink text, tap on the screen anywhere and my keyboard pops up. So if we're going to compare cats and dogs, I can then use my lasso tool, tap on that and make it bigger. Or if I wanted to just write it on the fly, make things easier for me, I can write it, tap on my lasso tool, circle it, and now I can move it around wherever I want it to go. Change my color, change the shape, whatever I want to do. Okay. But wait, there's more. Okay. Down over here again with our little 3-dot menu, we can add in an image from our drive, one of our screenshots, if it's one of those things that we've taken earlier. We can also do a Google image search. Right here on the fly, I'm going to bring in an image search about puppies, because sorry, cat people, dogs are just better. They're snuggly. And look at that, they're happy. Okay, so if I want to see how large the photo is, I could just tap on it. I can press that plus button, or if you want your students to think you've got Harry Potter magic skills, just click and drag it in, and then it becomes part of your presentation. You can bring it over here, shrink it down, move it behind the words, whatever you want to do. Now, you want your students to interact, but you don't want them to mess up the base. We're going to use our magic lasso tool again. So with our magic lasso tool, tapping on that, you actually got to tap on it, Kathleen. You're going to circle all the things you don't want the kids to mess up. It doesn't have to be a very good circle. And then you're going to press the lock button that locks it in place. So when your students come up and write and highlight things, and then they go to erase things, they can only erase things on the inside that they have not locked or they can erase things that were outside the circle. So they can add and erase on top, or add things from the outside of the circle and erase that. But anything inside the circle, they are unable to erase. Okay? Questions about that? All right, so more tools down over here. Under search image, you can also do a web search. So a student asks a really great question on the fly, and you want to bring that in as part of your presentation. Tap on that. How long do cats live? So how long do cats live anyway? Do they live longer than dogs? I don't know. Let's find out together. Let's hone in on that intellectual curiosity. And how are we going to stoke that? We can take a screenshot of this information as well. Move this around however long you want to use it. Tap the little check mark, and then that becomes part of your presentation as well. And you can shrink that down and make that part of your presentation. You can also add in, look, 3 little dots, scroll down under search web. You can bring in a YouTube video. So if I wanted to bring in a YouTube video about puppies, with my YouTube video about puppies, it brings it in with no ad banners, no pop-ups, no Grammarly ads. It's just the video, none of the other nonsense that pops in with it. So that is really cool because, again, you never know what kind of commercials are going to pop up in the middle of things. This has 0 commercials popping up and in. So let's say you want to save this. I know you're going to be shocked by this, but it's back at our 3-dot menu. So back where a little 3-dot menu is, moving over one more is File and Save As. This right here is just a date stamp. So you're going to tap on that and you can change your file name. So if I wanted to change my file name, I'm just going to say demo. And then click Next. It is a .iwb file, which means Google Drive is not an option. Google Drive is not an option because it will corrupt your .iwb file and not know what to do with it just yet, okay? So we're going to save to local, which means we're going to save it to our panel. The first time you do this, it's going to ask you to create a new folder. So to create a new folder, just tap Create a New Folder, name it something, and press OK. Use this folder and allow. Now, where is that located? Back here in our file viewer, tap right there. Under our internal storage, I'm going to look for my demo folder. It's located right there. Now, the coolest thing about this is that when it brings in, so I have others that I've created here, when it brings it in, you are able to go back to the clean original version. It doesn't bring in things that are not clean and original versions of things. You're able to click and drag and move and all of the good stuff without it being a hot, crazy mess all over the place, okay? And I know that was a lot. I know that was a lot already. What sort of questions do you have that I can answer for you? Silence. I've stunned you into silence. That's my favorite. I know we've already even hit time, but I want to make sure that we leave time for you. All right, so if you don't have any other questions, here's one that I will tell you. In the follow-up email that I will send to Christina and she will forward onto you, you will have those links. You'll have PDFs, you will have video links, you'll have all sorts of extra instructions, and then also my contact information. Listen, as teachers, you are faced with problems all day long with very few solutions. And we don't want this panel to be one of those things that has no solutions. So we are here to be the solution for you. If something doesn't work, do not just seethe and be mad about it. Reach out and we will fix it together. Okay? All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope your school year goes stunningly, amazingly well. And I hope that that family moves far, far away. I got you.
Thank you so much. This was really
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.